So obviously you're an actor-director. Story is paramount for you. So what was it about this story that resonated?
It was great. Wyndham gave me a script. We were going to do a very, very, very low budget film, and then I said, can I have a stab at it? And we rewrote it together and put some extra bits in it and then we went off and raised the money, and we got a bit more. Made it a slightly bigger film, so it became a little bit more interesting. And he's great collaborator, great person to work with, Wyndham. And it became something a little bit. We wanted to make like a sort of more like The Wicker Man, like a supernatural thriller more than a sort of slasher film, and that's what it is. I think I'm quite pleased with it. There's some very, very good stuff in there. Some very, very good performances. We've got some great people in it, and first of many, I think, with me and Wyndham. I think we really, really enjoyed working together.
And underpinning the whole story is this nature versus materialism story. What was it particularly about that?
It started out as a stage play, and it was a sort of two-man show, where you'd have a pikey and the sort of yuppie, as it were, sort of discussing their take on this, and I think that it's developed hugely, sort of exponentially since that, but. At the core of it is a little power struggle, and it is about that. There can be something quite negative about there's something quite positive and constructive about destroying nature. It can be quite a useful thing, because otherwise we'd all be living in mud huts. So, but by the same token, there's something inherently evil about destroying nature as well. So it's an interest. There isn't. I think what's good about the film is there isn't really a goody baddie thing. There's just two. There's a sort of juxtapositions. There's just and that comes across in one of the early scenes, and then the rest of it is down to Wyndham gave it a sort of poetry, especially with the voiceover and the narrative stuff that Tom does, and you get this. So there is this struggle between like modernity and old rituals, sort of, and I think that's the balance of the film. And if you picked up on it, I'm really pleased.
And I'm thinking as well, because it was based on a play, it's very character driven, so presumably the balance between keeping it again character driven as well as then adding all the other elements to make it cinematic was also quite an exciting time.
Well, ultimately you're all you're left with is the actors on screen, and I think that's what's important about this, and it's a great opportunity because we didn't have the money to have a massive, to have like Lord of the Rings sort of big battle sequences. We can't have trees coming to life, so what you have to do, all you're left with is the characters and the acting, and that becomes your special effect, and that becomes the thing that people are watching and intrigued by. So very, very important that it's a character piece first and foremost. Because we didn't have the money to do anything else. I would have loved to have trees coming to life and the forest coming to life and destroying it, and a big fight between JCBs and these sort of super animated trees. But it would have been rubbish probably. But we didn't have the money for that, so we had to do acting instead because it's cheaper.
For you, what was it about the story that you just thought, I've got to be a part?
I like the story as a whole. For me, I think with the character Alicia, she's felt a little bit like a moral heart of the story. So you first see her and you think she's a little bit of a trophy wife. They're a very materialistic couple, new money, self-made money. But as soon as she gets there, she's very taken by the forest and is very affected by it. And you soon realise that she's more than meets the eye. Trying obviously to kind of tell Tucker to just sort of that things. I thought there was a nice comparison as to in life. People, it's a generation of I want this and I want it now, and you don't care about the repercussions. Whereas, with them, it's only a matter of time until the world will kind of bite back. And all the issues with global warming and everything that's happening now, I feel like there's a nice kind of echo of that in there. And it's obviously built on an old burial ground, and so obviously the wood kind of starts coming back and sort of kind of killing people. So I just felt there was a little nice kind of like. Yeah, something there.
There's a consequence for our actions.
Absolutely, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. But there is a consequence for our actions, and it's only a matter of time that we can just keep living this life of, not taking responsibility for the world that we live in.
And how did you work both together, husband and wife, building that sort of relationship and then watching that, explore out on screen?
It was great, actually, because Nick and I got on really well straight away. He's also quite good that we were just thrust into it, that there's a massive, even though they've been married for a while, there's a big misunderstanding, or there's a big void between them where she's kind of saying to him, no, you're not listening to me, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm sensing, and he's like, oh yeah, what is it? It's nothing, it's nothing tangible, you're just kind of making this all up. So it's quite nice that we didn't actually know each other too well, because even though they're married, there's still like a very deep miscommunication between them.
It sounds like, obviously acting is a lot about instinct, but there seems to be probably your character is working a lot off instinct.
Absolutely, yeah, she's all about that. It's about a gut feeling, it's about a little inkling, and trying to trust that when everyone else around you is going, no, you're crazy, or no, you're being ridiculous, you're being stupid. But it's about trusting that and going, no, do you know what? There's more to this, and I know it, and I trust it. And she has a very interesting character arc, which I loved, because she kind of sticks to her ground, and in the end, unfortunately, it drives them apart. It completely drives them apart. But yeah, she's great. It's a very nice female part. So yeah, I'm lucky.
And Nick said it was just a very enjoyable shoot to be on as well. What did you get from working on the film?
I loved working on it. It was made for very little money, as these small independent films are. It's a passion project, so everybody who's involved in it is completely committed from word go. And so it was a really nice kind of communal feel, everyone pitching in and helping out. And we just had a really good laugh. It was great, which is what it should be about. So yeah, it was really cool.
Welcome to FrightFest.
Indeed.
I know. And this film, it sounds like a cracker.
I haven't seen it.
Well, we haven't seen it yet either.
I know nothing about the finished product. I've had little trickle downs from Wyndham, our writer, director, producer, and I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's all panned out.
Well, it's very much sort of nature versus kind of materialism, isn't it? This film, and that's kind of what underpins it. What was it about it though, when you read the script, that you thought, I do want to be behind this and support it?
Well, I've known Wyndham for must be 20 odd years, and we've worked together a few times. We've done projects together that he's written and directed, and we've always looked for ways to work with each other over the years. So when he told me about this, obviously I was going to, be in it somehow or other. He was going to shoehorn me in there somehow, and he did.
That's what we like to hear. So the character that you're playing, tell us what resonated with you.
Well, he's a good guy. If you want, in terms of symbols, he's good. And he's employed by a bad man to build a giant house on a piece of land. And the longer I spend on the land, and the longer my character spends in nature there, he realizes that this is a really bad idea, and tries to tell the bad man to not do this anymore, but the bad man doesn't want to. And he carries on, and there are consequences.
Well, that sounds interesting for your part then, because there's obviously a lot of inner conflict going on, which for you as an actor must be really excited to play out.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a nice simple arc, but I think what I love about his arc, that particular character's arc, is that the more he learns, the more he is in nature, the more he learns about nature, and that was a nice process. That was a nice arc for the character to go on,
Is there quite a nice kind of moral of the story for audiences to take away with them about the way we are treating nature at the moment?
Yes, I think so. I think that it's a plot of land, and somebody wants to build a house on it. But actually, when you look at the land more and the consequences of building on it and what you're doing to the nature of that land, and the more you understand and the more you learn, the less you want to do it. So I think that, yes, that's what my character represents, certainly, in the story.
It's quite nice, because you were saying as well that there's a consequence to our actions as well. That's probably another lesson that we can all take away with us.
Well, I think it was written 20 years ago as a play, and I think, it has more relevance now than probably when it was written. We're at a sort of time where global warming and pollution and the way that we're devastating our planet is talked about more than ever now, and still nobody wants to do anything about it. Big business, big industry doesn't want to do anything about it. So it's as relevant now probably as it was when it was written.
exactly. And we're at FrightFest, so a great platform to screen the film. You know, independent film, it celebrates it. Are you excited to be here?
Very excited. I've never been to a FrightFest before. I am enjoying the atmosphere and just seeing all these kinds of different people coming from all kinds of different angles of life, dressed up, not dressed up, covered in blood, people with guns, sawn off shotguns. It's fantastic.
It's quite unique.
Yeah.
So this film, this story, what was it that you connected to when you first read it?
So I was really interested in the non-linear element of the script, that it's told in a series of flashbacks up to the midpoint, and then we get it in present day terms. And also the element of nature, because we explore the consequence of neglecting nature and our symbiotic relationship with nature as human beings.
That's probably the best answer I've ever had. It's wonderful.
I've prepared it. I hope so.
And with the character that you're playing, what was it that you know resonated with you?
I think within the world that we're exploring in the film, it was interesting to have Crow, a boy, effectively, who is searching for a purpose and finds a certain purpose and takes that and runs with it in an extremist way. And I think it's a metaphor for a lot of current and trying to be diplomatic. Yeah, it's very current in a sense that.
Yes, because I was thinking that earlier on, because you know we're living in a world where you know we do bulldoze, we're putting up new properties and things like that, and we should really be respecting nature more. And I do think that this film is probably a testament to, you know, that's what we should be doing.
Well, that was the message I took from the film, and I think it's not a straight up. I mean, if you're going to categorise it, I think you could look at it through a certain lens and yes, call it a horror, but you could also call it a thriller. But the element that really interested me was our discussion with nature, and you know, trees are our filters. We wouldn't be able to operate without them. So it's an interesting discussion that we have to keep having.
And this was based on a play originally. Did you go back to the play as a part of a sort of source of your research?
No.
It's interesting. You wanted to come to it completely fresh with your own perspective.
Well, I think we were building something completely new. The play is a focal point for Wyndham and a starting point with foundations for him to build a script out of, but we had to create our own world, you know?
Absolutely. And we're here at FrightFest. Yeah. Are you excited to be putting your film in front of an audience?
Yeah, of course. We just want to get it out in front of, hopefully, an audience that is receptive to it. Yeah, it's great to be here. I've not been here before.
Wyndham, lovely to meet you and welcome to FrightFest.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I can well imagine. And with this story, it kind of feels like nature versus materialism. Is that very much the case?
That's absolutely spot on, yeah. I mean, you know, there are two villains. There's not the usual hero and nemesis. They're equally evil, I guess, you know, and one supports nature and one supports materialism. One's a kind of avaricious businessman who wants to raise a wood to the ground, and the other lad is a feral youth who wants to kind of save the wood. And ultimately, you know, they're clashing in the film, and that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? Horror.
So where did the idea for the story, you know, the fruition of it?
Well, it was initially a stage play written by a guy called Tim Rhys, and they were just two parallel monologues, which didn't lend itself naturally to a feature film, as you can imagine. But we worked very, very hard to turn it into a really compelling visual event, I think, and we're very pleased with the results, you know.
Because we're living in a world that is so materialistic, and you're like take it by your accent, you're from Wales, so I know. Is there a message there about, you know, respecting and nurturing and looking after our nature?
Oh, absolutely. The moral underpinning of the piece, and I don't want to be pretentious, but ultimately there has to be in a film, doesn't there? You know, the moral underpinning is, look after nature, or nature will bite back. Yeah.
And how did you find the experience of filming and working with your actors and directing them? How was that?
It was absolutely sensational. We had a great time. We came in a day early, which is a rarity in any film, as you can imagine. We had inclement weather, we had storms, and we just ploughed on through the bloody lot. There you go. That's just serendipity of filmmaking, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you're here at FrightFest,
Yep.
so an important festival to screen your film and to see it in front of an audience. Are you excited?
Very excited, yeah, and everybody's so bloody lovely. You don't always get that, I mean, and everybody's so warm and welcoming, and we just are so pleased to be part of it.
Thank you very